So my power went out. That's nice. And coincidentally, it's Halloween. What's a better game to talk about on Halloween other than Luigi's Mansion? Let's go through my checklist real quick. Oh, it's good. Luigi's Mansion was originally being a tech demo to show off the console's power in terms of, ooh, dust. I think this is a very beloved series to this day, in my opinion, and I actually really like Luigi's Mansion. Try to change my mind. Except for Dark Moon, because that game isn't all that great. But of course, even though there are only 3 games, I'm looking at the first one today. This game came out as a launch title for the GameCube, which is quite strange because I would have never guessed this game to be a GameCube launch title. Nintendo has this tradition where a Mario game would be the launch title, and it's been like that since the original days of the NES. One Nintendo GameCube later, and all hell breaks loose. We got the manual, if I can get this out. Got the manual, the health and safety, and the Nintendo Power. That's cool. We got the game disc itself. That is really cool. And no memory card. What gives? There's a slot right there for it. The plot is very simple because it has an intro cutscene with you winning a mansion and that you never entered. And of course, it turns out it's haunted. Of course, you go inside and meet Professor Gadd, a character that was introduced in this game but barely used ever since. The only other times he appeared in any game is of course later entries in the series and Mario & Luigi RPG series as an actual person. You could argue that he was in Super Smash Bros. For 3DS as a collectible trophy, but I don't think so. I don't think that'll be enough for it to count. And then he gives you an overpowered vacuum cleaner, which then you go from room to room sucking up ghosts like you're housekeeping and sweeping up a mess. He also gives you a small communication device known as the Game Boy Horror, which this was a neat little inclusion. Every Luigi's Mansion game does this. The Game Boy Horror, the Nintendo DS, and then the Virtual Boo named after the Virtual Boy. These are funny and neat little extras added into the game, which I think are really cool. There are special elements your vacuum gets, which is just fire, ice, and water. Now, is this game difficult? This game isn't too difficult when starting on the main floor. I would eventually get stuck later on in the game, but it's not much of an issue. I'm fine. But I would say the difficulty starts rising after you meet the first boss. His name is Chauncey for some reason, but I'm not taking a chance on not being cool. He gets a nickname. There are a total of 51 bosses in this entire game, and no wonder why this game is so long. I think this is the longest Mario game in history. I can't really see, but that looks awfully a lot like Sonic. Let's see here. We have a instruction manual this time, an advertisement for Sonic Rush for some reason. It's really cool. I think that said Sonic Rush. Yeah, Nintendo DS. And then we have the game disc itself, which is really cool. And I can't see that, but apparently there's instructions on how to take the disc out. Lydia is just sitting in her room by her mirror. This one isn't really difficult. Nivelle is just annoying. Chauncey is the baby in a crib. People may consider Lydia or Nivelle to be a boss, but I think Chauncey is the first one, since this one really feels like a major threat. It's nothing too much going on here until you're transported into a different area where you fight to survive. Do you notice the power came back on? Whatever this is. I searched it up and it says the floating Rolindas. I don't know, whatever, it's just a ballroom. So each boss has their own special way that you need to suck them up. And it's different on each boss you go to. Mr. Lugs by vacuuming up his food. He is pretty scary though, and especially the music and the moveset. And difficulty can vary depending on which boss you're going after. It could be the size of the room, it can be the moveset, it can be just anything possible. Spooky is a dog. Bogmire is just creepy, but it makes for an interesting boss though. Sonic Gems collection. Now, of course, you might be lost at this point. Guess what? I skipped a few bosses in here, mainly because it would just be a little bit too long if I were to go through each and every one. Henry and Orville are twins, which is kinda unfair. This boss would have made sense for Luigi's Mansion 3 since you can grab a second controller and play as Luigi, but the first game I don't think really knows you can use more than one controller on this system. So, King Boo, of course the final boss, which uses a Bowser costume when fighting him. Watch out for all the portrait ghosts. Those are the main ones you need to worry about. Portrait ghosts are required to continue, but you don't continue until you beat the area's boss. Allow this game to hit store shelves?
Now, of course, sometime throughout the game, you go into the well, which leads you to King Boo's lair, which Mario stuck in a painting. Long story short, just go through a few portrait ghosts a few times, get to the final top floor, and there you go. After beating a portrait ghost, you get to smash them in a machine and put them back in their painting. I thought we could see them alive in this form. You just get a painting of them in their ghost form.
Huh?
Of course, one fake Bowser final boss later, and you're done.
Of course, I don't know really about this. I mean, it's just fun. But Luigi's Mansion 2 came out in 2013. I kind of thought it would be just like Luigi's Mansion 1, but you could play it on the road and a bunch of new levels in it. But boy, was I wrong.
Luigi's Mansion had a remake on the 3DS, did you know that?
Damn it, which one do I pick?
It's the same exact game, but now on 3DS. I don't really remember people talking about this one too much. I think it was because it was kind of overshadowed by the Luigi's Mansion 3 reveal. I mean, it did happen around the same time.
But you know, Nintendo still must be upset on not making Mario the launch title for the GameCube. Yo, you haven't mentioned me recently. Why? Because you requested not to. You know, that's inaccurate. Wait, what? Wait.
Come on, where you at? Where you at? What is that? There's no way! Well, there's probably going to be some changes being made.